From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
Welcome back to our podcast studio in lovely Raytown, Missouri, as we're recording today after some stormy weather last night. Did it keep you up last night?
We had one that hit the house or something. It was the closest I've ever heard. Just, you know how there's the close ones that are boom.
Yeah.
This one was it was I mean, it hit something really, really close.
Well, if it really did a lot of damage to your house, you could call your favorite State Farm agent, and that would be Bob Watson. He's my guy, and I'll share him with you. I was driving in probably while you were sleeping. It was the 2 a.m. hour.
I was definitely sleeping.
Yeah, and I'm driving in toward downtown, and it was one of those where usually you see the lightning bolt, and then you count 1001, 1002 for how many miles away it is.
Right.
But it went zit, zit, boom. I'm like, okay, that was fairly close. Bob Watson, 712 Main Street in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878. Bobby is licensed in both Missouri and Kansas, so we can take care of you on either side of state line. Auto, home, life, renter's insurance. If it's important to you to insure, get a rate quote from Bob Watson. Bundle your car and homeowner's insurance, and you'll save even more. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. We ask you to help us spread the word in this crazy world that we're living in that is not getting any saner. And coming out of the primary, we'll talk about that a little bit. The craziness in Jackson County and really in Midwestern politics in general. We'll get to all of that. Regardless of any policy disagreement that we have, we want you to know that we are the safe space for rooting for this country. We want it to do well. We love it when it does well. And so if you'll take that message and forward it on to everybody you know, yes, we can disagree on things. Hell, Kurt and I disagree on things during the podcast. We may well on this episode, but that's okay. At least we're talking, right? When you're talking, you're not fighting.
Yep.
And I don't want to fight him because he's younger than me and he probably could take me apart. I don't know. So how can people share this podcast, get the message out there?
Yeah, so make sure you're following on YouTube or Rumble for the video podcast. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share the link with your friends, drop a comment. It all helps us out very much, and we do appreciate it. You can find the audio-only version on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and then join in on Facebook as well.
Okay, because if you got the video right now, you just got a shot of my naked legs, so I just uncrossed my legs because I don't really want to be showing that on the podcast here. Last week, we talked about Mayor Mamdani in New York. He's following the failed Kansas City model of a city-financed grocery store, doing it on a much bigger scale because it's New York City. They're going to do 5 in total. They're spending $70 million of tax money in New York City to open these grocery stores, right? And so last week he kind of laid out what it's going to look like and all that. Now we have someone in the media asking someone on the left an actual question. And the answer it's mind-boggling, especially with how they feel about voter ID. So roll the video.
How are you going to keep people from taking advantage of that, that deal, basically? And is there going to be a limit on the number of items that someone can take that are discounted at that level from that essential basket?
So our RFP makes very clear that this is a program for New Yorkers to be able to put food on the table, not a program for people to be able to make a quick buck through reselling. I'm going to pass it over to our EDC head, Jeannie Pack, to add some additional details.
Yes, if you look at our RFP for the operator, we are looking to make sure that we target New Yorkers, whether it be at sort of a library card-esque thing, and also we manage who's buying and that is focused on everyday New Yorkers. So we are mindful of that, and so we're going to make sure that we have all the things in place to ensure that that does not happen.
So what I get out of that is you got to show an ID, right? Somehow they're going to monitor who you are. And they're going to monitor so that you don't resell this cheap food that you got so that you can make a buck. I mean, who would do that anyway?
Yeah. I mean, a good follow-up question to that, she ends by saying, we're going to make sure this is focused on everyday New Yorkers. I would say, excuse me, what is everyday New Yorkers? What does that mean?
Yeah.
How do you define that? How do you know who's an everyday New Yorker and who's an every other day New Yorker or a once a week New Yorker? What does that
Somebody
even mean?
visiting, right? They go, hey, the cheap grocery store. I got a library card. I can go in there and do that. And then I get back to, you've been to New York, right?
Yeah.
I don't care for New York. It's too big. It's too loud.
It's fun to visit. I would never want to live there in a million lifetimes.
But on every corner is a bodega, right? Which is essentially a grocery store that an entrepreneur has put together, and they're going to open up right next door to these people and undercut them. What's American about that?
Yeah. And I mean, we also see with the food stamp program, that was intended for people who really are under hard times and who need food to put on the table. And like, I have no problem with that per se, but we've all experienced it. If we're being honest with ourselves, you're at the grocery store and you see a young family or an individual person in front of you. They're probably overweight. They're buying Cheetos and soda and candy and ice cream. And then they pull out that SNAP card and bang, there they go.
Yeah, abuse is rife in the system and all that. I agree with you. I mean, I think any time that I put it this way, if you can't work, that's one category of person. But if you won't work, that's another category of person.
Right.
And if you've got your multi-$1,000 iPhone over here and we have the richest poor people in the world.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. Poor people here would be, the Donald Trumps of the world in the third world. So, I mean, they do pretty well here. And then you get back to ID. This is the party that wants an ID for everything. Except voting.
Right.
They don't want, and I voted in the primary. Did you vote in the primary? Yeah. You had to show an ID because you're in Missouri.
Yep.
And I've kind of jacked around with those people before. I've tried to play the other side of the coin. It's like, what do you mean you want ID? You really want me to show an ID? How un-American is that? And then you get this look like, oh.
Yeah, that's kind of like prank calling the Pizza Hut or something like that. It's like, you're not talking to the person who's actually in charge of that.
Yeah. I let them off the hook pretty quick, but I didn't do it this time because I was on the ballot. You don't want to make too many people mad. So there you go. That's the update on the Mamdani grocery store. The update on Clay Como shooters is, and you would know this better than I, hunting season's probably just around the corner, right?
Yeah, it's coming up soon. Well, the main one for me will be deer rifle season, which isn't until November. But I think there's like turkey and waterfowl and maybe some other things. Small game starts before that.
Yeah. So, hunters probably want to go to Clay Como shooters as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
They got the hunting stuff that you need there. And they also have personal security for you. They're on 69 Highway, that little stretch between I-35 and 435. They'll take care of you. Find the right firearm. Your Second Amendment gives you the right to a firearm. Get the one that you need, right? You need a rifle for hunting. You need a handgun for personal protection and protecting your home. Find the right gun to protect your family and get trained on it. Our friends at Clay Como Shooters are law enforcement. They're former law enforcement. They train the cops. They can train you as well. And they buy and sell guns too, all major brands with the ammo to go with them. And of course, they're not a big box store. They're a neighborhood business that's looking out for you, an affordable indoor range to help with your training as well. Remember the name. It is Clay Como Shooters, and their number is 816-452-4867 with all of your firearms needs. Everybody is moving toward a goal of 65, right? That's when you come off the company insurance that you're on, or Obamacare, or whatever's going on there, and you get to Medicare. And Medicare is a moving target. Every time Congress meets, they change some of the rules. That's why my friend Kirk Doris monitors all that. So if you're about to turn 65 or you know somebody who is, get him on speed dial, 816-701-6661. Set up a meeting with this guy. It won't cost you anything. You don't pay him. He gets paid by the insurance companies. And he gets paid to find the right path for you, which Medicare plan, which Medicare part, and which supplement to go along with it. You'll find all those answers when you meet with Kirk Doris. And if you're turning 65 or somebody else that you know is, make sure they get there. MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. Their office is at 3600 South Nolan Road in Independence. But again, if you can't go to him, He's going to come to you. They're going to make it really easy for you to understand the very complicated Medicare. So the primary highlights, the Missouri primary and the Kansas primary, happened on Tuesday this week. I want to focus, because I'm running in Jackson County, I kind of want to focus in Jackson County. There were major upsets. Stacey Lake won the Democrat nomination for county executive. We had Dan Tarwater on last week. He was kind of my pick because I'm not really on that side of things. I'm on the Republican side. But, at the county level, it's 80%, getting things done. That's what it's all about.
Right.
And Dan had been on the county legislature before. I thought he had a really good head on his shoulders, and really would come in there and work with both sides to get things done. But that didn't happen. Bill Baird didn't win either. Baird raised $250,000 in campaign money
For a county
Right.
executive seat.
All of it came from unions and builders. Big chunks of cash went his way. Tarwater raised almost $100,000. Stacey raised $68,000, and I'm told a chunk of that was her own money. So she is going to be probably the next county executive. So we want to get her on at some point too, just to get her views. I hear good things about her. She ran against Frank White in 2022. If she had won in 2022, I kind of wonder if I'd be running now. I mean, I don't know that the county would be in the mess that it's in now, because it's still cleaning up in the post-Frank White era. So some questions.
What's her story, or what's
think
her,
she's a lawyer.
her platform or whatever? Do we know anything about her?
And not a lot. I mean, I think she's a lawyer, and like most of them, she said she wants to come in and clean up the mess and deal with tax assessments and all that. I don't feel from her, like some people, like the guy I'm running against, I don't feel a strong liberal bent there that she wants to come in and spend a whole lot of money. I think she knows that the county's essentially broke, and before any additional spending can ever be considered, they need to figure out where all the money is now.
Right.
Where's it going? And that's why I'm running. So it'll be good to get her on here. I don't want to speak for her. Let her speak for herself and what she would do in that situation. Lee's Summit, by the way, I don't know if you heard this, where Baird was the mayor, they ran out of Democrat ballots in Lee's Summit.
Oh, really?
Because so many Republicans were crossing over and getting a Democrat ballot because they wanted to make sure he did not win. He has left such a bad taste in the city of Lee's Summit that they didn't want him as county executive, and now he's not going to be the county executive.
Wow.
Stacey kind of walked away with it. So be interesting to talk to her about all that. Justice Horn, who I've kind of followed on Facebook and we've kind of made fun of a little bit here on the podcast because he's always out knocking doors. We knocked 368 doors today. I mean, he's, by his math and all the posts, he probably knocked all of the doors in the state of Missouri at some point. He and Jalen Anderson canceled each other out, so neither one of them won. And Carla Fields snuck in as the first district at-large seat. We had both Scott Qualls and Tony Miller on the podcast. They were going for the Republican nomination for District 3 to face Phyllis Hernandez in November. Scott Qualls won that race. I mean, I like them both, but just trying to be an impartial observer, I thought Tony had the experience. He had been on the Jackson County legislature before as a Democrat. He crossed over. Scott doesn't really have that in his background, but now Scott's going to carry the Republican banner in the fall to face Phyllis Hernandez. Vanessa Husky is the only incumbent out of all of this mess who is guaranteed to be reelected. There's no Republican running in District 2, and she obviously ran unopposed for District 2. Donna Payton could be the other one. She'll face Grace Cabrera in the 2nd District at large. Now, in my own race, and this is where I'm maybe a little bit concerned, I don't know. My opponent on the Democrat side, when you know how it is, you request a ballot to vote, right? And you have to state your party in the primary.
Right.
So I was on the Republican ballot. Antoine was on the Democrat ballot, and when all was said and done, he got 63 more votes than I did. So it will be interesting. It's going to make an interesting November when those ballots are merged. And overall, the Democrats did a lot better in turnout than the Republicans. Why was that? And I think I've got two reasons for it. One was 4 and 5. because the Democrats were lockstep in
They
this.
were very motivated on that.
Very motivated.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you had 6 Democrats running for county executive. The Republicans didn't really have anything that sexy on our side. I know on my particular ballot, Mark Alford was on it, and he was running against a bunch of people for the nomination, and he got like 80% of the vote. So
Right.
that was never going to be an issue. John Patterson, the Speaker of the House, who's been on the podcast before, he beat Dan Stacy fairly easily for that Senate nomination, and that was really it.
Yeah.
So the Democrats probably had a sexier ballot. We're going to talk a lot more with our guest, Senator Joe Nicola, about 5 failing and maybe a little bit of 4 as well. But Rachel Maddow was really following Missouri on MS Now, and she was downright giddy over 4 failing in Missouri.
Sorry, I didn't realize there was a clip here. I have it. I'm pulling it up.
Jump over to Missouri for just a second. And this is not something that's had a lot of national attention, but it's really, really interesting to me. And we've just had a profound result. This is a ballot measure in in Missouri. It's Amendment 4. The background here is that Missouri keeps having these citizen initiatives. And citizen-initiated amendments in Missouri in recent years have enshrined the right to have an abortion in Missouri. They have expanded access to health insurance in Missouri. They have legalized marijuana in Missouri. They have legalized sports betting in Missouri. There's been all of these citizen-led efforts in Missouri that have produced these liberal to populist results that have made Missouri Republicans very uncomfortable. Their voters have voted for these things and they don't like it. And so Missouri Republicans in recent years have done all sorts of incredible gymnastics to make sure that the will of the voters is not actually made manifest in Missouri law, despite the results that voters have really resoundingly handed them at the polls. So to that end, Missouri's Republican legislature organized this Amendment 4, which would make it harder for citizen initiatives to get on the ballot in Missouri. Instead of just needing to get a certain number of signatures statewide in order to get your initiative on the ballot, instead this would change it so that you had to get a certain number of signatures in each of the state's 8 congressional districts. This is a threshold that would not have been met by any of those initiatives I just described that Missouri Republicans didn't like the results for. So this was an effort to make it much, much harder for citizens to get what they want in Missouri. And Missouri voters gave them a one-finger salute on this one. Look at that result. Incredible. I mean, this is just under a third of the vote in, but look at that.
Oh, look
this
at
is
that.
projected to fail with an exclamation point or 10. Missouri.
Yeah, that's enough. She's just overall giddy about it. And my problem, and we'll probably get into it with Senator Nicola as well, is a constitution is not something you want to keep adding laws to. And I keep comparing it to the U.S. Constitution. U.S. Constitution has 27 amendments to it. 10 were done on day one. So it's been 17 since then. And one of them was really stupid, the Prohibition Amendment. So you got 2 that are there. One is for prohibition. The other one is to repeal prohibition. And what's happened here is Democrats cannot get a majority in the House or the Senate or the governor's mansion. And so they've found this. Missouri has a very liberal citizens initiative plan where they get enough signatures in Kansas City and St. Louis, and they can get one of these things on the ballot. And if they get 50% plus 1 vote, the amendment goes on the Constitution. Missouri has over 100 amendments to the Constitution. They are actually doing law on the Constitution. And I'll tell you something else that I heard, and I hope what I heard is true. The Democrats were working on Amendment 6, which they were going to try and put on the fall ballot this year, which would essentially eliminate the need for a legislature and or governor. Basically, any big question that comes up, it's going to be really easy to get a citizen initiative on the ballot, and we'll just let Kansas City and St. Louis tell us what we're going to do.
Right.
Now, this, Amendment 4 may have gone a little too far, but the objective was to make it a little bit harder to get an amendment on the Constitution. What they should be doing is, if they want abortion on demand, which they did get, Rachel was talking about that. They got that in an amendment. Amendment 3 is going to be on in November to try and cut that back. If you want to do things like that, there's a way to do it. You work with your legislature, you get a law passed, you get the governor to sign it, voila, you got a law. Happens at every level of government. What they're trying to do is they're trying to use the courts to produce law.
Yeah.
And that's what Democrats would love to do all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States. They want to use the court to get done what they can't get done.
Well, it's also the amendment was about more than just that, too. It was about trying to curtail out-of-state or foreign interference in state politics,
which is absolutely happening.
And she mentioned, now I'm asking you because you can correct me on this, but she mentioned citizen-led initiatives. Is there a requirement that you're a citizen in order to sign a petition?
To sign a petition, yes.
You do have to be? Okay.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be checking that through the Secretary of State's office.
Right.
But what it doesn't curtail is money coming from wherever.
Right.
China, outside influences, the Bernie bros. I mean, all that money coming into Missouri, and there's a lot of it coming in to try and steer this thing in a leftward way, every way except the way that they should be doing it.
Yeah.
If your ideas are so great, elect Democrats to the state house.
Yeah, well, this is the problem with democracy writ large. It's what's happening. It's the same reason they want to get rid of the Electoral College is the same reason that they oppose this amendment, because if you can just have majority rule from the cities, then you can turn the state blue. Essentially, you can
absolutely
you can elect, a liberal state legislature. You can redistrict. You can elect or propose and then pass liberal policies on ballot initiatives. And so there's something akin to like the U.S. Senate or the representation of the individual states that can happen within a state by representing individual congressional districts or representing individual counties so that it's a little bit more balanced out. And I think that's what the goal of this amendment was and why I supported it.
Remember, and Democrats should take note of this, we are not a democracy.
Correct.
We are not, democracy, if you want to go back to the Greek roots of democracy, you had the eligible voters all gather in an amphitheater and every question was put to a vote. And obviously not everybody got to vote. You had to be a male of a certain age, probably a property owner as well.
Yeah.
Right. So a very few number of people were quote unquote citizens who would gather and vote. We are a republic. We elect leaders who make the laws. And this is a workaround that they've discovered in Missouri, and they'll probably try and get it done in other states. Again, Missouri has a very liberal citizens initiative process, and the big money out there has discovered this, and they're using it, obviously, abundantly.
And I'm sure they would love to institute something like this on a national level. I mean, imagine if you could just have a petition with enough signatures on a national level, and then immediately that is put on a ballot in November to say whether, whatever, like abortion on demand should be legalized, or that's how we amend the Constitution to the United States is essentially, even if they don't call it that, that's what it's doing. It has the effect of law. So you're just determining that through purely the will of the people, through majority rule, and whatever mob has the loudest voice, you can, affect change that way. That's not how our system of government works.
Spot on. Yeah. That's exactly what they're trying to do. What I'm trying to do is get this podcast moving along so I can get to lunch, and pizza sounds good to me. Jim Dingman, thank you, Jim, for putting my name up on the Blue Springs marquee there on 7 Highway. And now I'll need you to do that in November, too, because November is going to be a tougher race. He's got 2 locations. One is in my adopted hometown of Blue Springs on 7 Highway. The other one, 50 Highway in Lee Summit. Great pizza. Eat in, carry out, order it online at funhousepizza.com. You can even get it delivered. They've got cold drinks, great pizza, fun atmosphere. We've got football season coming up. Maybe you want to go there and watch the game, right? Or if you got like a junior league football team, maybe you want to have your team meeting there. Jim Dingman is a wonderful host, and he's got 2 excellent locations there on 50 Highway in Lee Summit and 7 Highway in Blue Springs. Make sure you go and tell him that we sent you. Same thing on your property needs. You're ready to sell your house, ready to buy a house. I'm amazed how many calls I get like in a week from people that say, hey, can I throw you a price on your house? I'm like, no. When I want to sell, I'm going to call Michael Schroer because your price is not going to come anywhere near what I want for my house. Michael's going to get me the best deal out there. Then he's going to find us our next house. He's our real estate expert here on the podcast at any level of life you're at. You want to move from the apartment to your first home. You want to add some bedrooms because you got more kids coming. You want to shrink your footprint because your kids are all moving out. Maybe you got a piece of property you want to build on. Michael Schroer is the man. He's with Remax Elite in Lee's Summit, 816-373-8400. You can get him on his cell phone at 816-520-9342 and send him an email if you want. Michael Schroer56 at gmail.com. That's Michael Schroer, SCHROER, the number 56 at gmail.com, and tell him you're ready to move. You're ready to get things going. And he will be there to help you get that done. My next guest is somebody that I see a lot in what we do in politics. He's a very smart guy, and maybe coming out of this election, one of the smartest guys in the Missouri Senate. He is Senator Joe Nicola, and he joins us to talk about Amendment 5. So, Joe, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Dale.
You bet. I was at your event in Buckner. I know you did a lot of town halls where you laid out your opposition to Amendment 5. 83% of Missouri voters agreed with you. You may well have been the only voice on the Republican side. Maybe there were one or two others, but you were certainly the loudest in opposition to Amendment 5.
Yeah, so I was one of only 3 Republican senators in the Senate that voted no, but I don't think the other 2 were as loud and as vocal as I had been ever since. Yeah.
Well, Curtis Trent, I don't know if you know Curtis.
Right.
He did not win his primary, and a lot of people are saying it was because I think he was one of the wasn't he one of the sponsors of the bill?
Yeah, he handled the Amendment 5 in the Senate, correct.
Yeah. So he goes down in a primary battle. So without getting into the weeds and taking a lot of time, just kind of the upper level stuff, what was wrong with Amendment 5 in your view?
Well, there was quite a few things, really, but I was very concerned about removing the taxpayer protections for 5 years and then allowing the legislature, without a vote of the people for those 5 years, to increase sales taxes and to also implement sales tax on services. And within the language of the bill, it literally said any similar transaction type tax. So it opened the door to even go beyond the sales tax. So I had concerns with that. Removing those, there was like a couple sections of the Constitution to remove it. There was some guardrails on it. It had to be for the purpose of eliminating the income tax. But we also already have a current law that is phasing the income tax out. So we were at 6%. We're at 4.7% now. And that's for everybody that makes over $9,100 a year. So it's a little bit more like a flat tax, what we currently have. The floor on our current legislation is 4.5%. So it can still drop a little further. And my argument was, why don't we work with that law, the current law now? We can take the floor and go to 0. It's still based on revenue growth. And we could maybe cut some spending. How's that? That's a good idea.
Yes.
The governor and auditor has both come out even recently in the last few weeks saying we don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. We are losing the ARPA funds, and a large part of our budget is based on those ARPA funds. So we're going to have to make some cuts. And why don't we do that first before we make this major change?
Yeah.
And then, it's really seniors. The seniors, we don't pay in the state of Missouri. We have eliminated the state income tax on Social Security benefits. So you take those seniors that are only getting Social Security. Well, they're not paying any state income tax. Well, if we raise the sales tax and put sales tax on services, which, by the way, seniors use more services than really any other population. They have to pay for somebody to mow their lawn, to clean their gutters, to paint their house. I can do all those myself. I don't have to pay somebody. So their tax liability was definitely going to go up. And that's not to speak of the poor. So those are just some of the things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different issues and problems I had with it.
Yeah. Tone deaf is what comes to mind here. I mean, was there polling on this? The governor put his weight behind it. Did you have any idea that it was going to go down in flames to the level it went down?
No, and there was I hadn't seen any polling on this prior to the election. But I was thinking, it could go down around 60-40, maybe slightly over 60, but I really didn't know how this was going to turn out. And when I saw those results, I was watching it all night. I was completely shocked. I mean, the people really pushed back on this.
Well, the Democrats certainly did. They had signs everywhere, no on 4, no on 5. 82% of Missouri voters went against 4 as well. I supported 4 because I felt like it made it harder to put amendments on the Constitution. We have 100 some odd. You probably know what the number is. There's only 27 on the federal Constitution, and 10 of those happened on day one. I think it should be harder to amend our Constitution. And personally, this is my thought on it. I don't know what yours is, but it feels to me like they can't get enough Democrats elected to Jefferson City to do what you do and on the House side, or a governor. So the shortcut to all this is to get a bunch of signatures in Kansas City and St. Louis and then get 50% plus 1 vote to put another amendment on the Constitution.
No, you're exactly right. And if Amendment 4 would have passed, it really would have done just that. It not only make it harder to get a constitutional amendment passed by IP, but it would make it virtually impossible going forward. And quite frankly, it needs to be very difficult to get a constitutional amendment passed in Missouri. And it's just too easy. That's why we have bingo in our Constitution. We have, I think, 28 or 38 pages of marijuana law. It's how we got the worst abortion law in the country, is through this process,
which we might be able to fix.
Yeah, I hope so. I just saw a report this morning. The previous mayor out of New York, Bloomberg, just is sending $1.25 million to oppose the Amendment 3.
Yeah, Kurt and I were just talking about that. All the money coming in from all these places into Missouri.
Yeah. Yep. And one of the things about the Amendment 4, I voted for it in the Senate. I even voted for it on the ballot in Tuesday's election because I do believe, like you, it would have made it much more difficult, near almost impossible, actually. And it really does need to be more difficult. However, before we voted on it in the Senate, I did prefer some other versions of IP reform. And I even made this statement more than once that who is going to pay to promote Amendment 4, and what's the messaging? Because the messaging against Amendment 4 is going to be really hard to overcome. And we saw that because the people were told their authority, the people's authority, was being removed and eliminated. And there just wasn't good messaging out there to combat that.
So one of your big issues, and because you represent a large portion of eastern Jackson County, and property tax is certainly something that we're all fighting to try and fix and all that, you wanted to really impact property tax from the state level. So now that 5 has gone down, can that banner be picked up again, and what do you think can be done?
Well, I'm sure going to continue to push for it. As a matter of fact, that was one of the things that, just infuriated me when this income tax bill came out in the Senate during this last session, because we went in to this session with the Republicans in the Senate, our caucus. Our number one priority was property tax reform. And we came away with nothing at all. And, the House met all last summer and toured the state, and we put special committees together. There was all kinds of bills. One of the problems, I think, Dale, that we have right now, and it's in litigation, is during a special session for the Chiefs Stadium bill, that tax bill last summer, I worked with the governor to get a property tax bill added to that special session, and he graciously did. He added that. But we had a couple of the Democrats in Jackson County was going to filibuster it, and they did for 4 hours. And what happened is some of the Republicans worked behind my back without me even being in the meeting and came up with another piece of legislation that exempted Jackson County. It actually exempted every county that had Democrats in it. And they left it up to the senator to choose either to freeze the property tax or have a 5% cap every year, or CPI, whichever's higher, which was not my bill. And they put that on, some counties put it on the ballot. For instance, Cass County now, they put it on the ballot and the people chose to freeze their property taxes like forever. And it's unsustainable. The police, the fire, it's causing all kinds of problems. And anyway, this bill now, I think, is a big stumbling block. It's been, because to try to get some good property tax reform, which we need for the whole state, since this passed, and now it's been on ballots in April, and many, it was available to 97 counties. That's kind of in the way now. We have to deal with that because some of these senators in particular and reps, they don't want to do anything because they already got something, right? Yeah. They already got some property tax reform. And Jackson County being the worst of all of the counties, we're still stuck with nothing. Thankfully, Phil Lavoda has been doing a good job. And
yes.
We have some caps on it, but we desperately need some property tax reform.
Well, I'm running for Jackson County to try and do that.
Yeah.
And hopefully you and I are going to be able to work together down the road to get that done.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
So, and I'll throw this at you kind of from left field because I heard about it yesterday and I heard it's already gone away. Have you heard anything about Amendment 6?
Yeah. So the Secretary of State made a ruling, and I actually talked to him personally on Tuesday about it. He did a press conference, and he found it was unconstitutional. And
in my reading of Amendment 6, I read the first paragraphs of Amendment 6, and it's like a step further. It's like they defeated Amendment 4, these folks who want to, add laws to the Constitution, which is what these amendments are. And Amendment 6 seemed to make it easier, almost to the point of, why do we even need a legislature? Why do we even need a governor? Let's just do everything like the Greeks did back in the day and put every question in front of the voters.
Yeah, and that's, sadly, across the country, we're moving into that more of a socialistic, Marxist, and communistic forms of government. And people are not, these kids aren't being taught what our government is and all about, and the founders, and that we're not a pure democracy. We're a constitutional republic. We elect representatives, and it's just, they want to move us completely out of the way and bypass the legislature. There's, sadly, there's some Republicans that want to do the same thing. I'm hearing from grassroots, you guys aren't passing what we want, so we'll bypass you, and we want to get other things in the Constitution.
Scary times ahead.
No, it really is.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job. Keep doing the work that you're doing.
Well, I appreciate it.
Senator Joe Nicola joining us here on the podcast. Thank you, sir. We'll be talking again.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Dale. God bless you.
Joe Nicola, of course, he represents a lot of those small towns in Missouri in his Senate district, and small town car dealers can make you the best deal of all because they don't have the big city overhead. That's where my friend Mark Muller comes in. He runs the Max Motors dealerships, and you can find them at maxmotors.com. We're talking towns like Richmond, Clinton, Butler, Nevada, and all the American-made brands that you could ever want. Ford, Chrysler, GMC, he's got them all right there at his small town dealerships. Now, you don't want to make the trek to Richmond or Clinton or Butler or Nevada. Go to his website, maxmotors.com. Find the amazing vehicle that you want, your next ride, and they'll bring it to you right to your front door, just like Amazon does. Pick the car you want. They'll do the deal at your house. Max Motors, a different way to buy a car, the easiest place that you will buy your next car. Small town American values of God, family, and country. And again, if you don't buy from Max, Mark Muller encourages you to buy American.
America first.
And then whatever you buy, even if you buy one of those foreign cars, even if you buy one of those plug-in cars, you got to keep it maintained. And that's where my friend Tim Porter comes in. These are all my friends. They're part of the podcast because they believe what we believe on the podcast, and they believe in America first, just like Mark Muller does. So does Tim Porter. So whatever you decide to buy, make sure you keep it maintained at Christian Brothers Auto. Okay, Christian Brothers Auto in Independence is the one that Tim owns. They're each one individually owned and operated. The one in Independence is right on 40 Highway, just east of 470/291. It's in the median between the east and westbound lanes there. Easy to find, beautiful location. I mean, when I was growing up, you'd think you take your car to the garage and it was like grease everywhere, kind of a dirty experience. That's not what you find at Christian Brothers Automotive. And then they're going to hold your hand through the whole process, no matter what you need, from an oil change, tires rotated, the alignment deal. I'm going to get out of my depth here soon, Kurt, on things I know about a car. But what I do know is...
Tires.
Tires, yeah, I got to have
lights,
those.
windows, engine. Brakes.
Whatever they fix on your car, they'll give you a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty, whichever benefits you most. So get that first oil change at 816-795-6811, and let them take it from there. Great folks.
Just start naming things about like naming parts of cars that I've heard of before.
Yeah.
Transmission.
Electric windows.
Oil.
The radio.
Yeah.
These are the things I know. These are the things you know. That's fine. Okay, so the Trump report card as we go into the midterm to move on to national politics. And I'm going to tie in kind of the history of modern warfare here because we're embroiled in Iran here. So he's got about 3 more months to get anything done. You would agree with that, right?
Pretty much.
Once we get past the midterm, then everybody's going to be talking about 2028. In fact, they're already talking about 2028. And there's a really good chance the Democrats are motivated. There's a really good chance they're going to take over the House, and they might well get the Senate. Mm-hmm. So he's got 3 months to get things done. So let's go through kind of a checklist, and you can throw in things that I haven't mentioned here, but on what he has done and what he hasn't done and where he's failed. He secured the southern border. You'd give him a check for that, right?
Yeah, I think we have net negative or net zero immigration for the first time in a while or whatever.
Removing illegals.
No.
Yeah. I gave him an incomplete on that because they're doing some of it, but certainly not at the levels that Barack Obama was doing. And boy, Barack got no blowback for all the stuff he did. And Trump, man, if ICE takes one illegal criminal out of a big city, they bleed like stuck pigs on the left.
Yeah, and that's why he canceled that, by the way, because of what happened in Minneapolis and all the riots and everything. He said, this is a bad look for us. Yeah. We're not going to do it anymore.
Locking in tax cuts, I'd give him a check for that because of the big, beautiful bill that locked in the Trump tax cuts from the first Trump administration. Stock market, above 50,000 on the Dow. It keeps going up. I mean, so if you got a 401k, an IRA, I think you would give him high marks for that. Where I give him low marks, and I saw Pete Mondo put up a post about this. He said Republicans will bitch and complain about the debt until they've got a Republican in the White House, and then they don't talk about it.
Right.
That's not the case here. We've talked about the debt.
Yeah.
We put the debt clock.
We bring up the clock all the time, yeah.
$39.8 trillion and going the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
I also give him low marks on the tariff thing. I never understood it. I thought, well, maybe he's smarter than I am and he knows what he's doing, and maybe these people will eat the costs and it won't hurt the economy. I think it has hurt the economy. Mm-hmm. Not the economy of the Dow and all that, and people who have money in the stock market through their retirement plans or whatever, but everyday things, I think it has hurt the country.
Hmm.
You don't?
Well, I mean, I've said it before. Tariffs are not a negotiating tactic or something that should be put on and then removed and put on and then removed.
Like he's doing.
Depending on, what you can get from the other side or whatever. Like it should be either a legitimate geopolitical tactic for replacing some of the tax base, or it should be like moral based, like, okay, you're using child labor, we're not going to buy your products anymore, or we're going to put a tariff on you until you stop, like that kind of thing.
I would say the way I would put it is, when you're dealing with a tariff, you want to use a scalpel and not a sledgehammer. And Donald Trump is not a scalpel guy. He's a sledgehammer guy. And he came out on, the Independence Day thing. Remember, he had the big sign up behind him with all of the tariffs and who was going to be paying what, and we're going to make trillions of dollars. Well, the United States revenue used to be based 100% on tariffs. We didn't have an income tax. Wouldn't it be nice to get back to that again?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the point, is like, it has to be predictable. There's going to be pain involved. There's going to be increased costs involved, but over time, as it supplements, and then you can remove other things, you can lower the income tax or remove the income tax. But that needs to be like a long-term strategy and a long-term policy, which is not how it's happened. It's like if we pass the removal of the state income tax, and then to replace it, they were like, okay, we're going to do a 5% sales tax. Oh, just kidding. We're not going to do a 5% sales tax. Okay, no, we're bringing it back, but now it's 7%. But no, now we're getting rid of it again, and we're going to do an estate tax instead. It's like, it's totally unpredictable.
And Arkansas will pay for it. No, that's
right.
Yeah. Moving on. So, and the other thing is the war in Iran. And I would agree with you that thing has become like a quagmire. And he shot himself in the foot like on day one, and he continues to shoot himself in the feet. I'm surprised he can stand up. He's got so many bullets in the feet. By saying it was going to be a 4 to 5 week excursion. Now we're in the months.
Yeah,
and it's dragging on, and it's not getting any better. And we've gotten to a point where we know we're not going to put boots on the ground. They know they're not going to put boots on the ground, and they're just biding their time. My mother used to tell me all the time, just bide your time, just bide your time. And that's what the Iranians are doing right now. They're biding their time, and this is going to go back and forth. And I'm very pessimistic about where it's headed.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at this point the options are we nuke them, we invade them with ground troops, or we pull out and we lose.
Yeah. So 1 and 2 are not going to happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we're left with 3 eventually, which looks like where we're headed. So I thought I would take a look at some of the bigger wars that we've had starting in the 20th century, and just talk about how we got in there and what it means, and maybe look at it through a prism of where we are in 2026. So I start with World War I. I don't know how much history you know about all this stuff, but America was not involved in World War I. President Wilson ran on keeping us out of the war. And then this Zimmerman telegraph showed up, and that was an interception of a communication between Germany, who basically started World War I, and Mexico, offering an alliance between the two countries, and it offered Mexico, Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona if they would join the war effort. Basically, if Mexico would invade from the south into the United States, and then they also had unrestricted submarine warfare in the Atlantic. So maybe we were a little bit threatened on that deal. I don't know. But we got in late to World War II, and then we got out. So there you go. You have a copy of it.
Yep.
This is why you should watch the video version.
Living history here on Dale Carter's America.
Yeah. So World War II obviously started with Pearl Harbor, and when they attacked Pearl Harbor, the Japanese, we declared war on Japan. Now, Japan had an alliance going with Italy and Germany, and so Germany declared war on us. Did we have to attack? Did we have to join? Did we? I don't know.
Yeah, tough to say.
It is tough to say.
Hindsight's 2020. I mean, there's people that say that we should have just let Germany and the Soviets kill each other, and then that would have solved itself. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I'm not enough of an expert, but it's a take.
Patton, certainly after World War II, when they were clinking glasses with the Russians, he said, we need to go after those bastards next. Yeah. And if they would have unhandcuffed him, he probably would have done it. But I bring up World War II in this sense. Is there any scenario now in 2026 where a president would be allowed a 4-year war with over 1 million American casualties? 407,000 killed in action.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
Be a harder sell for sure.
It would definitely be a harder sell. Then on the heels of World War II, Harry Truman's president, the North Koreans come down across the border into South Korea, a democracy, and we sent troops under the United Nations banner.
Mm-hmm.
What was our compelling interest in Korea?
I have no idea.
Well, it goes down that I'm getting to Vietnam is what I'm getting to, where we were going to be the defender of democracy everywhere on the planet.
Right.
And I don't think we're that anymore.
Certainly not now.
Yeah.
And there's can I make a quick parallel? I'll try and make it quick because I know we're short on time, but with World War II as well, and people make the argument of dropping the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that it was necessary because it saved further casualties. And if we hadn't dropped the bomb, then like 1 million more people would have died in a ground war in Japan or whatever. People are saying the same thing now about Iran. They're saying the same thing. They're saying we need to invade Iran. We need to drop bombs on Iran because if we don't, then they're going to fund, terrorism and they're going to kill more Israelis, or they're going to, attack America and whatever. It's like the same exact argument. So I'm not saying it was necessarily right or wrong, but it's just interesting to see the same sort of tactics being used to try and justify it.
Well, and then the quicksand of war, Vietnam's a great example of that. It started with military advisors that John F. Kennedy sent to, and this is after the French pulled out. The French were there first, and we should have seen what the French went through in Vietnam. We probably never would have gone. Mm-hmm. But he sent, advisors over there. We had a democracy in South Vietnam, and then LBJ comes in after the assassination, and we end up putting troops and troops and troops. Nixon comes in, he says, I've got a secret plan to get out of the war, and he's bombing. So they just couldn't get out. And meanwhile, almost 60,000 Americans were killed in Vietnam as a result. And now we use Vietnam as the example of we don't ever want to have a Vietnam again. Mm-hmm. And that really takes us to Gulf War I, best example of modern American warfare that I can find. George H.W. Bush, he had a goal. Saddam Hussein had invaded Kuwait. He said he's got to leave. Bush goes out and he assembles this vast alliance of countries. And we drove out Saddam Hussein in record time with very limited American casualties, and he resisted calls to go all the way to Baghdad. Gulf War II, congressional approval was sought, something Trump did not do here. It was acquired. It was bipartisan. People like Hillary Clinton voted yes, this coming after 9/11. Finished the job in Iraq, and we've been there ever since. So there's another quagmire for you. In retrospect, wrong war, wrong country. And where did the 9/11 hijackers come from? I think we know, right?
Saudi Arabia, right?
And we're not going to bomb Saudi Arabia. So it takes us back to Iran, and the fear is if they get a nuke, they'll use it. Trump bombs their facilities to the Stone Age, but they continue working on the program. He goes with the complete aerial attack, sinks their navy. Iran takes the Straits of Hormuz, and here we are. No desire to use ground forces, Iran playing the long game, and the 3-month clock on Trump's effective presidency is ticking, and the Iranians know it.
Yeah. It's exactly what you said. They're in it for the long haul. They have the advantage strategically. They have the cards. They have the greatest military in the world by the balls, because the greatest military in the world, the people that make up the country don't want their troops to go to another unnecessary Middle Eastern war. So,
and I am sick of people from the administration from Trump on down. I heard Bessent do it yesterday. Oh yeah, within 1 to 2 days, we're going to have this thing exactly where we want it. Yeah. Stop doing that.
It's a boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
to the utmost degree.
None of the Democrats believe you, and I don't believe you.
Yeah.
And I don't think Kurt ever did. So there you go. This week's leader to replace Trump is Kamala Harris. Last week it was AOC who was number one in the polls. She's been bumped out by Kamala, and she's ready and she's got ideas.
Must allow for a real conversation about revisiting certain things. For example, and I know this is going to be controversial coming from me in particular, we need to revisit the Electoral College. We need to revisit the point of expanding the court to 13 justices like we have 13 district courts. We need to revisit, if they so want, statehood for Puerto Rico and D.C.
Yes.
Yes. So out of all of that, it's the first time I've heard the number 13 tied to district courts. Had you heard that?
Is that how many district courts there are?
I assume that's what she said. So
we need to expand the Supreme Court to 50 because there's 50 states.
Well, let's go with what she said, though. 13 district courts, okay? So if Donald Trump today wakes up and says, Kamala, that's a hell of an idea. I'm sending up 4 names today to add to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. What do you think they'd do? I just took her idea.
Yeah.
Let's just run with it. Only a good idea if Democrats do it. So there you go. Kamala, who also lost in the Electoral College, wants to get rid of the Electoral College. And what was it? Oh, Puerto Rico and DC for statehood.
Yep.
Only if they want it. Never mind what we want.
Right.
If they want to be a state, damn it, let's make them a state.
I'm sure their political affiliation has nothing to do with it.
So we had the big storms here in the Kansas City area. It seems like we've had a very stormy year coming out of spring, and it went into summer as well. And if you start seeing like brown spots on the ceiling in your house, that is a telltale sign that you need to get with my friend Austin Watterson and get his crew up on your roof. Royal Roofing and Solar. Roofedbyroyal.com is where you'll find them on the website there. And Austin's a guy I've known for a very long time, very trustworthy. You know, how many times has somebody knocked on your door and said, hey, I'm a roofer, I'm in the neighborhood, let me go up on your roof and I'll find some damage or whatever, and then your insurance company will buy you a new roof. I had that happen in my neighborhood I don't know how many times. Well, when the roof needed to be replaced on my house, we did it in 2 sections. We had a dormer that failed, and Austin and his crew went up there and they fixed that. And then when the rest of the roof went, Austin did that work as well. And he's working with a new material called Tamco Hail Guard. Now, this is beyond Class 4, which means something to your insurance guy. I know that for sure. When you get a Roof by Royal roof on your house, it's going to last for a very long time, and it's going to get you the best insurance rates you're going to find. And with Austin, all of his employees are W-2 employees. Why does that matter? Because if you've got, roofer down the road there, and they've got their crew, and they're all 1099 people, they fall off your roof, that's on you, my friend, and you better have a large umbrella policy for when that happens. If it happens to one of Austin's people, we hope that it doesn't, but if one of Austin's people gets hurt there on the job, he handles that because they are W-2 employees. It makes an incredible difference. Call 816-540-7057. Get Austin and his crew on top of your roof. Get that inspection started, and if you need a new roof, he's going to get you the best roof out there. Again, Tamco Hail Guard. It is beyond Class 4. It'll mean something to your insurance guy. And if your insurance guy is my insurance guy, big smile on his face. Bob Watson, Blue Springs State Farm agent for 5 decades. He's been a State Farm rep for over 50 years.
I'd say congratulations.
He's got a full staff of people there. They will take your phone call. A lot of insurance might be cut rate, cheap, and all this, and you get what you pay for, is what my parents used to always tell me. And with Bob Watson's team, you're going to get somebody who will answer your call and go into action when you need them. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance. Bundle that home and car insurance. You'll save even more. And when you get a roof from Austin, your rates are going to be even lower. 816-229-7878, licensed in both Missouri and Kansas. Like a good neighbor, Bob Watson and State Farm is there. So we get to the end of the podcast today. There were a lot of folks who lost along the way that we're not going to see anymore. Cori Bush tried to run again in St. Louis. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
She only got like 25% of the vote in the primary.
Oof.
So she's gone. We know some other folks are gone as well. And then I saw this guy is going to be gone too, and it makes me a little sad because we've used some of his clips for comedy, pure comedy, here on the podcast. His name is Shri Thanador, and gosh, I'm going to miss him.
We must reform ICE, but it looks at this stage, folks, ICE is beyond reform. ICE is totally out of control, and this week I intend to introduce a bill to abolish ICE. We need to make ICE go away.
Go away.
2003. Before 2003, without ICE, various federal agencies were able to take care of business and we can do this without ICE. But we do not need the murderers. We do not need these paramilitary organizations, members on our street terrorizing concerns that.
Yeah, that's Shri Thanador. And by the way, Democrats loved ICE when Barack Obama was president. They did ride-alongs. Do you remember that? We remember because we have the receipts. And as far as Shri Thanador, maybe he'll go back to Hollywood because I really loved him in Team America World Police.
Like a Middle Eastern terrorist right away.
Sarah is a professional at skin grafting and laser valmorification. The valmorification completely worked.
It's uncanny. You're going to fool everyone, Gary. Or should I say, Ahmed?
Or should I say Shri Thanador? Hey, we just have fun with this stuff. Don't take it too seriously.
I've seen that movie like 100 times. It's one of my favorite movies ever. I love it.
I tried to pull a clip that, would not have offensive language in it.
Yeah, it's hard to find in that movie. Yeah.
Until after the election, and then we'll be offensive as hell again. Why not? Hey, until next week, this is Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.